Yo,
Yo.
Hello.
we're back. It's the new year, and I'm bringing this show back. I'm Ryan, the originator. I used to host a show called AoG Debates. It could only ran twice, but hey, we're back. We're back. It's a new year, but I'll be running the show once a month at the end of the month for the next 12 months. So
That's a lot of shows.
it's 12 depending on con season, how cons go. It all depends.
Hopefully it goes great for you this year.
Yeah, and I'm the moderator, so I will be modding this lovely debate that we have this
Oh, your
evening.
name's wrong then. It should be Ryan, the moderator.
Well, not today. Not today. But today it's the topic of discussion for AoG Debates today will be of the video game industry and how we feel about video games, us as consumers in general, and how the industry as a whole. But we're going to go ahead and kick off and introduce our panelists. I'm going to start over here. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
I'm Sarah, also an agent of geekdom. My show Critical Affection Monday nights at 8 Eastern. You can watch that after you're done watching this. And I also make comic books.
Nice plug. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I guess we'll make it
circular.
Yeah, no circles here, just Z's and N's and every other shape with sharp corners. Hello, I'm Wiley. I'm a Twitch streamer as well as a agent member. Our show is on Sundays. It is the Geeks Council, where we talk about all things geeky. And a video game connoisseur, if you will. Just a nice little, that's a good game.
Achievement
Hunter.
Achievement Hunter, nice.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, I'm Kalala. I'm a cyborg VTuber, and I do things. That's really it.
Do things. So,
yeah, I don't do anything right now.
What's your skill level or your experience level with the video games? Because I'm not so into it. I'm a casual gamer.
I have a bachelor's in game art and design, and I studied the philosophy of games.
Nice.
I buy them.
There you have it, kids. Yeah, I'm a buyer. I'm a consumer. But, I mean, I'm old. So, my first video game system was an Atari. You guys weren't even birthed.
I didn't think that was a concept yet.
Unfortunately, I'm older than I look.
So I had an Atari.
And I also had an Atari growing up.
Yeah, had an Atari, went to Nintendo, went to Sega, went to Super Nintendo, went to all that stuff, had a Dreamcast. I had all of them. So, as a lifelong video gamer, from the beginning of the birth of the golden age of video games, which was Nintendo, Atari, things of that nature, we have now moved into video game industry of just, I will call it now, the shooter age. I don't feel like we have conceptual games, not a lot of story-driven games. There's only been a couple I can top off in the past 5 years that have been exceptional. Actually, last 10, to be honest. But we'll get into all that. I'm not going to get into the big three questions. I'm going to get everybody's opinion on how they feel and how they were in their youth when they were video games. So what does video games mean to you and how important you? Starting with Sarah.
Before I answer that, I just want to say Midori has graced us with their presence.
Bring her on in.
I can hear you, but I cannot see you. I think I can hear you anyway.
Wait, you can hear me?
I can hear. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yay!
She's like, Jesus. Oh, there she is.
There you are.
Oh, there she is.
I know y'all miss me. I miss y'all too.
So, what was the question? What does video games mean to me?
Yep. Yeah, what does video games to me to you, and how important are they to you?
These days, I don't have a lot of time to play, but there was a period of time that I'm not sure I would have made it through if I didn't have a video game to take me out of the world for a little while. So, shout out to all the Elder Scrolls games, and they are very, very, especially the ones that Oblivion and Skyrim in particular that got the super open world thing. I don't want to say they nailed it because they have some legendary glitching, but yeah, like you could forget that you can forget that you're just a sucky minimum wage worker whose life is garbage sometimes, so whenever I was having really bad periods of my life, I could go do that and maybe forget about it for a little while. So even though video games aren't a huge part of my life at this point in time, they definitely are a huge part of my overall who I am.
Wiley?
I would say video games, because I grew up them at such an early age. It really helped like fundamentally shape me. Like a lot of video games, like gave me like it helped create that moral gray area. Because as a kid, you grow up and you're like, that's right and that's wrong, but it's a lot more complex than that. So starting out with games that I grew up playing really kind of opened my mind of like, oh, you're right. This might be right over here, but it's completely wrong over here. And it kind of gave me more of like a open-mindedness as a kid. And it helped me see the world in different ways. So it kind of helped just shape me as an overall individual as a young age.
Nice.
Wow, it's
My
your turn.
I was about to say, who's next?
So I would say it shaped me too because I love stories, and I started gaming when I was like 6 with the Super Nintendo. So I grew up with a lot of games, but mainly because of the story and the philosophy behind games and how it connects people. So it means like a lot to me.
Good answer. Good answer. Midori.
I know y'all say the best for the last. Stop. No, video games is literally who I am. I'm in that millennial era where I grew up on, Atari, Sega Genesis, the Pico, which was the time before Leapfrog. So I definitely, even PC gaming, Windows, hello, the old school Windows screen. That definitely got me diving into like my IT.
Wolfenstein,
Yes,
all that jazz.
yes. So I've seen the evolution of video games from start to now, and honestly, that's what pushed me to become this uber IT nerd. And I built my first computer when I was 10, so like, and that was just so I can play Sims, guys. That no joke, hardcore Sims fan here. So, and that's what pushed me to get my video game degree in the future. So it's who I am from inside out. The stories, the way you can just get lost in any type of video game, whether it's pinball, Elder Scrolls, Legend of Zelda, Mortal Kombat. Like there was so much diversity in video games as far as what genre you were looking for.
Yeah, and we'll lead into that in regards to genres, because my genres today are very limited. I feel like we are lacking a little bit of that for every day,
Yeah.
And I don't like forced narratives and stories. We'll talk about that too in video games.
Clock that.
Briefly. But we're going to talk about the first question. So throughout AoG, I will always have 3 questions to my panelists that they have to answer. I put 3 questions earlier in chat in regards to what we talked about prior. A big part of video games today are loot and microtransactions. Microtransactions has been a very pivotal, very controversial topic in the industry. in regards to games that have longevity, long period durations. These are mostly, like we talk about, shooters. A big microtransaction played for the last 10 years. Wiley's one of my guardian pals. It would be Destiny. Destiny made Bungie, who made Halo. They made Destiny. They're making this other game that I don't give a two shits about that's coming out in a couple
Destiny
years.
3.
No, not
Destiny
Destiny 3. Yeah. So we're not even going to go there or talk about that. But Destiny is a very heavy loot action game. And the problem with that is that a lot of these games rely on these loot and microtransaction things because it drives players to get different skins, different loot, different anything in the process. For me, I'm completely turned off by microtransactions at this point in stage in life because there was a little game called Baldur's Gate 3 that came out, which has no microtransactions, has no loot system, and it's just a game like games used to be. And it was a breath of fresh air. So for me, as the moderator of this game, my questions were earlier today, do you believe that loot or microtransactions help or harm the video game industry? So we're going to hear their answers, chat and debate about it, and we'll go on to the next topic. Sarah?
Okay.
I think that they hurt the people who play the games. They obviously help the people making the games and making the money off of the games. But for me, I hate them.
Facts.
So, do you want me to elaborate? I don't. Do you want to go through? Yeah.
Yeah, you can
I
elaborate.
was gonna say, do we just dive into it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like obviously, microtransactions help whoever is on the receiving end of the money for that. But 9 times out of 10, the microtransactions are for things like new skins or new armor that doesn't actually help you play the game better. But
Yeah.
or on the converse, it you can't play the game at all. Like that's especially true for mobile games. You can't play the game at all unless you
pay for it. Yeah.
And there's nothing that sucks all the fun out of it. Let's like take the money aspect out of it. Like a lot of people can't play it because they just can't afford it. So let's take that aspect completely out of it. It sucks all the fun out of, I mean, what's the point of grinding in a game if, you know, because like that's earning the level and earning the stuff that you have is half the fun of the game. So you're, by just buying it, you're taking that away from yourself. But also if you have to pay at every stage just to be able to play and enjoy the game, then it's not then there is no enjoying the game. You cannot do that. And like I don't see why the game developers, especially the big ones, the big companies that make a lot more money, like the little indie guys, I understand they have to do something because they don't make a lot of money. But the big guys, why? What happened to DLC? Like, I will happily pay for an expansion pack, but what happened to that instead of the microtransaction BS?
I really think that, like, MMOs were, like, the front starters for, like, you know, the loot systems and whatnot, because at the end of the day, in an MMO, if you got an extra, you know, some extra gear or something, it was to benefit your character. You know, you beat the big boss after that grind or that raid, there was a reward after that. So I think
it was an
accomplishment.
Yeah.
So I think that the big wigs saw that and was like, if people want the cool looking stuff, if we just charge them $5, that's not too much, right? And then once they saw that people were willing to pay that $5, they're like, if we bump it up to 10, let's see if they'll pay. And then because we're a capitalism like economy, right? If you slap something cool on something, people are going to be, unfortunately, gullible enough to pay for it. And I think that's where the gaming industry has kind of taken advantage of your gamers when you didn't have to. Because I've said this even, other agents, like, nerds will pay for it. All right. Do us right, we'll pay for it. But do us dirty, all right, now you pissing us off. Like, point blank, period. Because again, like the mobile games, I shouldn't have to invest $20, all right, just for some rolls and Monopoly. All right. All right.
Thank you.
I'm talking
Thank
to you,
you.
developers. All right.
In the mobile game industry is one of the biggest. It's now one of the most important industries for
Yeah.
video games now.
And I mean, again, not knocking
It's
it to like the small
incredibly
companies,
lucrative.
but come on.
Yeah. Indie publishers, if you're like for mobile games, they're making a killing right now.
Yeah, so I just want to jump in here real quick. So I think it depends on how it's presented. So
what do you mean by that, Wiley?
What do you
mean by that? How is it presented?
I'll let you know. I'll present my evidence with video games to break it down to an easier understanding. So, for instance, I'm not a big Fortnite player. Don't play it. It's a free game, though. Anyone here could just download it right now and play it. You don't have to spend a single dime in the game to get the same experience everyone else does. However, they sell skins. But the skin doesn't inherently change your experience of the game because it's just a cosmetic. In that case, I think it's fine to have microtransactions on skins because it's not inherently altering the gaming experience. But there's going to be the but part of this. But I don't necessarily...
Always a but.
There is. So, for instance, if I'm comparing like Fortnite and Call of Duty, you can just buy... You can spend money and get like the brand new gun that's broken and just decimate everyone in the lobby. And you're like, wow, I just spent like $30 on this new weapon and I can just tear through everyone. Destiny included. We're going to also throw Destiny in that list. It's one where you can just buy the weapon and you can decimate until the next weapon comes out that you pay for and do it. Now, that applies to multiplayer games in particular, because when we talk about a single player experience, I'd like to bring up evidence A, Dragon's Dogma, because this game got so much hate in the beginning because of microtransactions. I don't want microtransactions in this game.
Incredible.
Yo, y'all are... Wait, are we allowed to curse on here? Incredible. Wait, Ryan. Okay, y'all are bitches because I think it was such a dumb thing. Ryan, you played Dragon's Dogma, did you not?
Sure did.
Okay, I want to explain to you what they were crying about. In the very... Dragon's Dogma 2, by the way, great game. Very complicated game in the beginning if you've never played one before. That's what I was going into. However, to help new players out, they offered microtransactions of like $1 or $2 to help you with the bare minimum stuff of having another Waystone. And people were just losing. There's microtransactions in this game. I'm refusing to buy it. And I was like, brother, who does it affect? You? If Ryan buys the game and he doesn't buy the microtransaction of the Waystone, and I spend money on the Waystone, it only affects my experience of the originator of playing the game. It doesn't affect anyone else playing it. So in that closed system of a single player game, I think it's fine because once again, I'm the consumer and I'm like, hey, this game might be a little bit difficult for me. It's not affecting anyone else if I spend money to do one thing. I think that should be all right. Same thing with, for instance, Resident Evil. Another classic example. You could go through, which it kind of touches on what Sarah says of like when she was talking earlier about like, oh, you do this because that's the fun of the game. Like I've went through Resident Evil 2 plenty of times. One, I don't know why that game scares me so much. I platinumed Resident Evil 3 perfectly fine, but I don't know. There's something about a big white man with a fedora that just scares me. It just shakes me in my boots. But I
don't know anybody who isn't scared by that.
Yeah, Nemesis doesn't bother me. Big creature, the Black Lagoon with trash bags on doesn't spook me. But the fedora is what gets me. Milady. But in that game, you can spend $4 and unlock all the weapons instantly. You could just buy Ultimate Rocket Launcher, which once again, because this is a single player experience that only affects the player, the person buying it, I'm okay with it because I could choose to buy it. I'm not forced to.
I want to say my part real
I'll
quick
jump in here
before we move on. So I'm gonna be that person, and I think there is a spot for it because it's honestly just gamifying support, right? Like it's making you supporting the developers a game in itself. And I
I
do,
get that.
yeah.
I understand that. But when it comes to just generic, like you're paying $10 to $15 just to customize a look for a prep, I feel like that shit should be an achievement. You'll
but
get
is that predatory?
See,
like,
I think
yeah,
it
because
depends.
right now in Destiny, this chatter white shape.
Oh no, we'll touch into Destiny. That's my next caveat to this.
I think
the chatter white
cosmetics.
is an achievement now. It's an achievement to get. I feel like armor should be the same way.
I think
Like I shouldn't have to buy ornates to feel some type of way. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think cosmetics should be allowed to be like payable, but also achievable in the way of like. I mean, I compare 2K and RuneScape, the old school RuneScape. Okay, old school RuneScape, there isn't any microtransactions. But RuneScape 3, there is. There's like mounts and pretty stuff that you can get. And there's like chests, and that ruined RuneScape 3. Okay, but in old school RuneScape, you can get like. You can pay the membership because it's an MMO, and you can get like pretty armor, but it doesn't affect anything. Like it's the same armor you could get in the game. 2K, however, in the state of microtransactions is why I think the capitalism ruined it, because you can't even play 2K.
EA is capitalism.
Yeah, you can't even play it because you have to pay for a bunch of coins. So now you're paying an $80 to $100 game because we heard that the games are going up. And then you have to pay for 50,000 VC, and that's the only way you can play with other people, which is the only thing people want to do in that game. So like that's unfair. That's not even a game at that point. So I think nowadays microtransactions are bad and like just ruins games. But when it started, it was definitely just gamifying support these little teams of people.
But that's where it's lost it. That's why I'm like, it was general support in the beginning for a game. Now it's like ruling a game. EA is one of the worst studios. Their 2K, like the WWE games, the base of all their sports games are ruled by microtransactions. It is fueled by microtransactions. You know, I'm glad it has not affected these single player games, but EA doesn't really make a lot of single player games.
That's where I feel like this.
The thing,
sorry.
The thing is with EA and 2K games specifically, they could do microtransactions smartly, and it doesn't feel like you were robbed because like sports are easy to do that with. You could just make it like a card pack. Whereas, like, you buy the game, you have everything available to you that everyone else does. And if you play it in 2 years, you can, like, pay for a pack of new players. That's smart. But they don't do that. They just go, like, no, you have to pay. The moment you get the game, you don't have anything anyone else does. And it's not smart.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the predatory look at it really stems around multiplayer experiences, how your money affects other people. But now, I want to swap over to DLC because that's kind of microtransactions. It's kind of it's a bigger transaction, but it happens. Now, let me kind of it's along the same vein. It's not the same vein, but it's just right here next to it. And I want to talk about Destiny for a second because I think what they did is absolute garbage. Hey.
Yep.
Hey Sarah, do you know how expensive a modern game is? They're like, I'll use a base price in Destiny. When Destiny 1 came out, it was $59.99. I believe that's how much PS3 games were going for. I believe they were like $60. But anyways, 70
$60.
Not
Not
anymore.
anymore.
But regardless,
Yeah.
I'm a young kid. I buy Destiny 1 when it first comes out. I played through the beta. I said, wow, this is cool. I buy the game that's like $60. Then they have the nerve to go, oh, this isn't the whole game. We're dropping a DLC. And in my head, I'm like, wow, this DLC is going to be incredible. It's not. It's underwhelming. And for those people that said, no, this DLC was great, they're lying to you because they're in Stockholm Syndrome. Destiny.
Is it hold on, before you continue. Is it underwhelming? For those people that don't know Destiny, is it underwhelming because it didn't add enough? Or it was underwhelming due to
Well, let me tell you something about Destiny. There's a lot of expansions, and half the expansions are absolutely
Stockholm
fucking
Syndrome.
garbage.
It's Stockholm Syndrome, Ryan. You buy it because you say, I love this product. But this product's been beating on you for 10 years.
And you're a loyalist. You're a loyalist
you're-
to this game. So, like, you're in it to see where the story goes next. But a lot of these expansions are very underwhelming, like Wiley says.
They
Yes.
sit there and they will be like, hey, we need, in the beginning, like $15 for the expansion. By the time Destiny 1 was a full product, was a full game, you would have had to spend like $120 to $130 when that game first came out. Just to be able to get what I would consider all of Destiny. Like, if you bought Destiny 1 today and got it with all the expansions, that's what I would call the full Destiny package. Destiny,
not for Destiny
2.
guys.
Are we at the full package of yet Destiny 2, Ryan? Or no, not yet. Is the last shape not the end?
No, yeah, the game is done. They already did their 10-year run with Destiny 2. The final shape.
Is that the end? Ryan, how much?
Well, they're releasing.
Oh, here we go.
They're releasing like acts and like they're not expansions though. They're just included into the game.
Do they cost money?
Until they.
Okay,
they're free.
Okay. Then I have no problem.
Can I say something about DLC?
I was gonna finish up bullying Destiny for just a little bit. Because so my issue with it is if a game is being made to create DLCs to force you to buy the DLCs to understand the story, to get a full game, i.e. Destiny 1, where a full game is $60, but you would actually spend $120 to get this full package, which is definitely oversaturated in price. You didn't get as much as you want out of it, but they kept saying, we're going to give you so much more. And then there were good moments, and you had a lot of fun moments, but overall, what they promised was underwhelming in total. Now, caveat, because game companies do DLCs right, and I know I'm a fanboy. I will preach it to the heavens. From Software has my soul. They do. Dark Souls, Elden Ring, all that, Bloodborne, it has my soul. But you know what they do right? They make goddamn good games. And then when they deliver a DLC, even if it's a $40 DLC, like Elden Ring was, you can debate it. That's okay. That's 100% understandable. But when they drop a DLC that is almost as big as the base game, that comes with new lore, that comes with, like, it's like a whole second game, not price is the full price of a game. That's worth it to me. When you get Old Hunters DLC for Bloodborne, it was always $15. From when it first came out, I believe, to now, it's $15. It might be one of the greatest DLCs ever created. It adds so much stuff to the game and so much lore. But here's the difference. I just played Old Hunters DLC, Ryan, from Bloodborne this year. I would tell you that Bloodborne is the greatest From Software game out there. It's my absolute favorite game. But I did not need the DLC to have that opinion because the base game is good enough on its own, and the DLC is just that. It's just extra content. Yes, it adds more lore. Yes, it adds all this stuff, but it doesn't take away from the base game. Whereas Destiny, you have to spend all the money on the DLCs just to get said base game, which is super predatory. It's terrible. And that...
I'll tell you, Wiley, they also get rid of your expansions.
Wait, what did you say? Say it again. Sorry, Ryan. Say it one more time.
They get rid of expansions when you purchase expansions. Like for instance, Cade 6 expansion does not exist anymore in Destiny
Oh yeah,
That's
I
crazy.
forgot.
because they created new content. Yeah, so you don't keep any of it. You can't keep none of
You
it.
can't
So
even
like
keep
that's
it.
yeah, that's also a huge
That's
problem.
one issue I have.
Yeah,
I spent 100.
Call of Duty, I bought skins. I never buy skins for games like that, and I bought skins, and they made Warfare.
Warzone.
No, what is it? Warzone 2, and they took all the stuff I bought away. Like, give me that money back, or give me credits to buy new skins for the new
Yeah.
game. Like, that's
but
ridiculous.
that's
Why I won't touch Call of Duty
that's
now.
the problem with it. Midori, welcome back, sister. Welcome back.
I wanted to bring up
No, you're
Sims
fine.
with DLC.
Yay, I like Sims.
Sims 1 and Sims 2 had a fine DLC way of doing it, where like it gave you a ton of
Yep.
stuff, but you could still play the base game. Like if you didn't want the extra bells and whistles, like you didn't want seasons, you didn't have to buy that. But like it still worked. Sims 4, they're at thousands of dollars for those DLCs, and you can't enjoy the game
Oh yeah, everything you
without
have
the
to
You know
buy
what?
is in.
Yeah,
Let me
That's the
speak on that
problem.
one.
But that's where games
Let
are
me
going.
speak
Yeah.
on
They're
that one.
going.
Okay.
Yeah, we will. I'm gonna say one thing, and I'm gonna jump right back to you,
Go
Midori.
ahead. Go ahead.
Games are now navigating towards things called seasons now.
yeah.
This is where it's starting to become, for me, ridiculous. But we'll talk about that in the next question. Midori, go ahead and finish your statement.
No, I literally was just gonna piggyback off of Kalala as far as again, Sims Die Hard, right? I have come to this point as a fan where I don't see the enjoyment anymore in getting the extra DLC stuff. It used to be like Kalala said, where Sims 2, the addition DLC would enhance your gaming experience, right? So like at one point, I mean, everything that you couldn't do in Sims 1, they brought it to fruition in Sims 2. So like the weather, the seasons, hot date, like the travel aspect, it made it worth paying that, well, back in the day, it was only like $25-$30. Now
Yeah.
it's
It was real cheap.
it was very cheap and affordable, but you got so much that it made it worth it. Now, when I look at these packs, you're paying $39.99 and you're only getting like 2 rows of extra stuff, y'all. As far as clothes or additional
new ones,
furniture. And then now they're getting into like the mini packs or the kit packs or whatever, where it's $10 and you're getting like a couple of extra shoes, extra pants, extra shirts.
Sims reminds me of like that fucking PC game Second Life or some shit. Like
But you know what? Even in Second
That's what it
Life,
reminds-
it felt like you were getting more what you paid for. It made it equaled out in a sense. But now with Sims and I don't understand why they went this route, because I'm not gonna lie to y'all, the competitor of it is coming out, and I think it's gonna show EA that they need to fix their lives.
What's that game called?
Yeah, the
What's that
new
game called?
Yeah, Amboy and Zoe.
Enjoy.
Yeah,
Paralives is coming out
yeah,
too.
and Zoe and Paralyze are going to probably have EA on the back burner, because again, I don't know why we've gone through recessions and stuff, and people are like, you know what, let's make them pay even more now.
And the weirdest part about the Sim stuff, one, the new DLCs are basically the amount of a whole game, so they're like $60.
Exactly.
But
Yep.
secondly, there's a mod community, and it's like everything I could get in your DLC, I can get from a mod, and you're not giving me
For
enough
free.
for me to like pay you. So it's like, why would I support you when these people are listening to me?
But that's why now their incentive has been to hire some of the mod community people onto their team to try and, I guess, make us happy or whatever. No one's falling for this joke, all right? No one's falling for it. I'm happy that the people who are from the modding community are getting the opportunity to, shine in a big industry as far as with EA. But it's kind of like it took how many years for this to be a thing?
facts.
Like,
And they still
Here's the thing.
don't include.
This is where we're going to lead into our next question.
go ahead.
Games have been out for a while. Okay, they've been out for a hot ass minute. So, in the last 10 years, I'm talking circa 2025 to 2005. No, 2015 to now. Not 2005, because that would be 20 years.
2 decades.
Okay. The gaming has been creative to the forefront of innovation, or you think it has destroyed the video game genre? I'm going to chime in on this.
Start us off.
For me, the last gaming, besides, I can only think of maybe 3 games that made my butthole clench. Okay?
Ooh.
Only 3 games. Okay? That was Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay? That game right there is probably one of the most innovative single player games I've played in a long time. Okay? That plucked my butthole. Okay?
Very good.
Ooh.
Second game, The Last of Us. Okay? The Last of Us, made by our good friends at Naughty Dog. One of the most compelling, driven narrative stories. You see, there's a trend here, if you didn't notice. Third game, Baldur's Gate 3. In my opinion, is probably one of the best games made in the last 20 years. Okay? Other than that, in innovation, I feel like video games have become sterile to a point. Okay? Video games
Stagnant.
has been
Stagnant.
very, very stagnant. I feel like games right now are ruled by what I call, after Halo reinvigorated the shooters, because we had Doom, we had Wolfenstein, we had GoldenEye, which made everybody's butthole pluck. Okay, GoldenEye
I
was
love
the
GoldenEye.
game
Let's go.
that created Halo, and then Halo created Destiny. Okay, and then we spawned Call of Duty, Fortnite.
Hey, I was gonna say throw Call of Duty in there.
Yeah, Call of Duty, Fortnite, and then we have all these other now canceled games, like that game that was on fucking Concord got canceled. But what took Concord's place? You had Overwatch, and now we have Marvel Rivals. This like shooter-esque golden age of just shooters. We barely get single player games anymore. Barely.
This is my expertise, sir.
Oh yeah, we're about to get into it. But go ahead.
Okay, can I?
Yeah.
Y'all feel like any of the video games as of now have moved the new? Feel like that we have had some incredible innovation in. I'm not even talking about graphics. Unreal 5 for a while. But graphics are not important to me.
God.
Okay? It's more about the experience. Do we feel that we've had anything that's broken the mold in the last 10 years?
Can I go
of course you can.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think all this stuff that's going on is rerouting video games to what it should be, with creators that love making video games. So my answer is yes. We have had a bunch of renovating games, but in the indie scene, we had Undertale, an absolutely blowout of a game that had like low tier graphics, but had the biggest impact. And Toby Fox made a lot of money from that. We have Stardew Valley, again made by one guy, terrible graphics, but it gave the players what they wanted. So I think everything that's going on is rerouting the games to like in a romance era. And I was like, I've been thinking about this for the last like week. I think overall, video games, movies, like all of our media, we're entering a romance era where people that's getting famous and stuff is changing, and it's going back to like what the person wants instead of always consuming and what's popular. So we're going away from AAA and mainstream movies, and we're like enjoying Nosferatu and like
Phenomenal
Undertale
film.
and stuff.
Phenomenal
Yeah.
film.
And
Phenomenal.
I think there's a bunch of like games that's coming out indie wise that's like really changing the space. Mouthwashing came out last year. That's a phenomenal horror game.
Koala, you don't think like reboots, reskinning a game, and you paying $80 is worth it? Like
No,
Resident Evils
I
and
don't.
Ninja
Well,
Gaidens and all
actually,
that bullshit.
Silent Hill 2 was beautiful. I will say that. I will say certain stories need to be retold because I think when they were written, they missed the mark of what they could do, and now they have the ability to do it correctly. However, I
That's a
think
valid
AAA is
argument.
losing
That's a valid
people.
argument. That is valid.
I
Who
think
else?
AAA is losing people because they're just like not letting people be creative. Well, indie people is like, no, fuck it, I'm gonna make this. Excuse my language, I don't usually cuss, but I'm gonna make this game that I want to make because I want to play it, and it's popping off more than they even know it's gonna pop off. So
Right. Well, when you ask the question, Ryan, I take it as a whole, and I think
I'm not like talking about the
to
Oasis
Koala's
story, like not Ready
so
Player One.
to Koala's point,
Yeah.
yes, the indie scene has taken a huge leap. The needle definitely has moved for the indie scene. No deniability on that. But I think when you ask that question, I'm thinking as a whole, as an entirety, and
That's
I
what
do
I'm
think
talking.
the needle. I don't think the needle has moved as it should have, despite the amazing impact that indie games have. Because I don't know about you guys, but yeah, the indie games are probably what I'm currently playing. But I will turn on my GameCube, like PS2, like I will go back and I will play my Sega Genesis now. I'm finding those games had replayability.
yeah,
To the highest degree in the gaming order.
I
Like
still play. I still
no,
play
none of these
Legend of Zelda:
games
Ocarina of Time. I will go
okay.
back and play that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. None of these new hit games have any replayability. You play it, you decide if you like it or not, and it's on the shelf, or it's stuck in your storage system, or it's collecting dust on if you got the physical copy. Because nowadays we ain't getting physical copies that much anymore. So
Oh,
it I don't
physical
think
media is
the
dying, guys.
innovation of everything has moved. I think that like we said in the beginning, it's very stagnant, and unfortunately it's doing a disservice to the new generation of gamers because you have them hip to this Fortnite formula where instead of putting all that effort that y'all are putting in all these side games and copying other games, you literally are taking other people's ideas and putting it into your game. That's wild to me. And I feel like no one's talking about that as like it's not okay. Like it's not Fortnite anymore. It's literally Guitar Hero, Lego Batman, RP, like what are we doing? So I think unfortunately the indie scene is definitely, I will say, doing the innovation part as far as moving that needle, showing like, hey, we don't care what the hip cool thing is. We're gonna make a game because we like to make this video game, and it shows. And I think that's why a lot of indie games are making a big, punch through the scene. But unfortunately, I don't think it's doing enough justice because you still got starving people out here who have plenty of talent that don't have anywhere to go, that's still homeless as far as jobs. So that's why I don't feel like the innovation is really there. I don't think the needle is moving because with it being 2025, we shouldn't have as many starving artists as we do today.
I agree. Valid argument there.
I agree.
Wiley?
Oh, I was waiting to be called. Actually, you know what? Sarah, would you like to go?
Wiley,
I got kind of a long-winded answer coming up.
He's gonna be
There
the
we go.
opposite because
There
he's
we go.
Oh, you made Midori leave. I have actually very similar views to Kalala and Midori. That I think that as a whole, we're not moving very fast. The mainstream games aren't what I care about. Like the last 3 or 4 games that I've played for sure have been smaller indie games, and those are by far more fun than, like, I don't want to go back and play Skyrim for the 800,000th time. I want a new Skyrim. I want a new Elder Scrolls game, or I'll go and play these other games. Like, we spent, oh god, like 9 or 10 hours just trying to bulldoze through Signalis, I think last year or 2 years ago maybe, and that was so much more fun than any mainstream game that I've played in a long time. Like, I'm trying to think, the last time I played a mainstream game and kept going back to it was back in 2020 when Animal Crossing came out. And was that me enjoying it, or was that a coping mechanism? We don't know.
Animal Crossing was like a lightning in bottle kind of thing that I witnessed. It
But
like
the
blew
problem
up.
with that one is a
Crazy.
lot of people got
Yeah.
bored of it within a year because they
Yeah.
lost what people liked about it.
Mhm.
Yep, and that's exactly true. But the astonishing like blow up of Animal Crossing. blew my
I
mind.
loved playing it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of it, but I don't play it anymore.
It's
I
the same
can't
thing for
imagine
me
what
in
my island
Roblox.
looked like if I
whatever
go
that
back to it again. But
I
I was
don't
playing it because
understand the chaos of
Roblox?
Roblox, whatever that game is called.
yeah.
Yeah.
I played
It's just the new
I
Club
played those
Penguin.
games
but
because it
better.
was 2020 and we were all in lockdown and there was nothing better to do except, like if you went outside, you were gonna get sick, and so like I only went out to get groceries, right? And it's like there was nothing else to do. So that's why I played a bunch. That's why I played all of the Animal Crossing. And
Mhm.
I think I was in Stardew Valley on that too. Like, yeah, it was like those were the games that's what I was doing. But and would I if the pandemic had never happened and Animal Crossing had come out, I doubt I would have even known it existed, because the circumstances, like you said, lightning in a bottle, like the circumstances were perfect for it, and that's why it was so popular. But I want to see, and like to that end, like I also like that game has zero consequences and it's all nice. Everything is nice. There's no like the worst part about it is that sometimes you get those grouchy neighbors on your island, right? Like that's
even not
like
that
that's
bad.
the worst part about that. It's the meanest, most negative part of that game, and that's
They
really
used to be
refreshing.
meaner. I miss them.
Because most games are full of go kill monsters and there's swearing and cursing and I mean I'm like Grand Theft Auto and like every Resident Evil game is a horror game, so they're all meant to be negative and dark and scary, and it's not a crit on them. I'm not critical of that part because that's what they're supposed to be, but it would be nice to see a few more games that were a little bit more upbeat.
Can I respond to one thing you just said? Resident Evil actually tears down what I have said a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's not a horror series. It was an action series. And then Resident Evil, the one right before this last one came out,
7.
and it changed it back to a horror series. Yeah, 7. So actually,
it started
change.
horror, then 4 came out,
and then went to action.
Ryan, you're not gonna tell me Resident Evil 4 was a horror game.
That's true. No, that's just fact on genre. They changed to an action because horror games were not surviving, and people.
What are fucking zombies, guys? What are zombies?
Pointless creatures that are slow moving.
It's the gameplay.
Not
it's
scared.
not.
What are zombies? What are monsters?
It's a gameplay.
What are monsters?
Category. It's not
Resident Evil 4 action shooter.
in it. Is Call of Duty a horror game?
I didn't play Resident Evil 4. That shit was garbage.
Is Call
That's
of Duty a horror
hot
game?
take for another day, Ryan. But that's a good question. Ryan, is Call of Duty a horror game?
It has zombies.
They have a zombie mode. Call of Duty
Is Minecraft a horror
Okay,
game?
wait. Hey, Ryan. Show me a zombie in Resident Evil 4. You can't, because they're not zombies. It's a plague. due to the Las Plagas
So that-
disease.
Back to what I was saying, Resident Evil is the perfect explanation of AAA actually doing right by their people. Because 7 came
What's
out.
your answer, Wiley?
And that's what we wanted.
Koala, she's cooking over here. She's cooking.
She cooking on that Resident Evil.
I'm just saying.
What's your
Oh.
answer, Wiley?
That was just one example. Yakuza also got remade, and technically Yakuza 1 is way better
Oh
than
yeah,
it used to be.
Koala.
But okay,
Yeah,
your
Koala,
turn, Wiley.
No, jump in there with me. I'm fine with these remakes. I hear people complaining, we're stealing this generation's games. Bullshit. Y'all crying too much. People like Ryan.
Okay, I
People
disagree
like
with
Ryan crying because they.
No, I disagree with you on that
You
one.
disagree with it. It's fine. You know why? Because it's not made for you. Hey Ryan, if you're a 14-year-old and you want to play a good horror game, you're like, wow, these new Resident Evil games that I never played because I wasn't alive when they came out back in '98. I know
Not my fault. Not my fault.
It's not
that,
your
you
fault.
know, you didn't
Hey
get
Ryan.
done,
Hey
or
Ryan.
your balls
It's
been
not
dropped,
your
Hey
fault.
Ryan.
you
Hey
know,
Ryan.
babies.
It's not
You
that
know.
14-year-old's fault either, 12-year-old's fault. They just want to play a horror game, and you know
I
what
don't
they
care
can
about no
play?
It is their fault.
Gen
Hold on.
Zs. I don't care about none of that.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. You don't care. But these other kids that do want to play it do care. It doesn't affect you.
Wiley,
It
I don't
affects
care
them.
about these young influencers.
I
and
know,
these
I
young
know.
little Gen Zers and all that little
If you
shit.
didn't play Sims 2,
You have
I
no
don't care
getting
about
to
respect
my
you.
for
point,
themselves.
which is getting to my point. I think
That are getting clicked. Don't care.
these games that have been coming out over the last 10 years have been some of the greatest games of all time. We're
What do you
talking
mean?
about.
No, that is not
I
even
don't agree with
remotely
that.
true.
Hey, is Red Dead Redemption 2 one of the
Remotely
greatest
true.
games of all time?
Ever made.
Yes,
That's
it
not
is.
10
Yeah.
years.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
That's-
That is
that's not
absolutely
10
10
years.
It is 10 years. Yeah. Resident Evil.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
RD2 came out in.
RD2 came out 10 years ago,
What?
or less than 10 years ago,
2018?
2018. Hey, that new God of War series, that 2018 God of War series, one of the greatest stories ever told. Hey, you ever heard of a game called
Wish it was
Uncharted
open world.
4?
Wish it
Hey,
was
you ever-
open world.
Okay, but you know what? It wasn't supposed to be an open world game. Hey,
True.
Ryan, you ever heard of a game called Bloodborne?
I
Yes,
not
it is.
10
It
years.
came out in 2015.
told you, Wiley.
It came out in
No way.
I
2015.
told you. We don't talk about the
Hey,
Souls games.
You
We
ever
don't
hear about
talk
Super
the
Mario
Souls
Odyssey? Game within the last 10 years. Hey,
Great
you ever
game.
hear of like Super
Great game.
Mario Galaxy 2? No, I stand correct. That came out in 2010. My apologies.
Hey, Adam.
What up,
Witcher
Adam?
3?
Excuse me.
The Witcher 3?
Not one of the greatest games.
You don't
ever
think The
made.
Witcher 3 is one of the
Odyssey was not one of the.
Witcher 3 is
Witcher
very
3.
good.
Okay, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is.
And it
CD
is
Projekt.
way better
one
than
of the
1 and
greatest
2.
games of all
Diamond.
time.
Baldur's
Baldur's
Gate.
Gate 3, Ryan?
We gotta remember,
Baldur's Gate 3 is the
3.
best game in the past fucking 20 years.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Ryan, but this is my point.
1 and 2
That's
suck.
absolutely not true. I played them. They did not suck.
1 and 2?
It trumps. Yeah, go ahead.
You played
Sorry, Wiley.
Baldur's Gate
Yes,
1
I played
and 2.
Baldur's Gate 2 on the PS2.
Oh, it 3
I'm
3
not
outdoes
saying,
1
but
and
that's
2.
my point, Ryan.
Oh.
That's my point. Games today are
Shout out
outshining
to Kyle's
what
brother.
they were before. The thing that stops it from being so good today, Ryan, is there's not enough uniqueness. Because what you were saying before is a perfect example.
Get into it, Wiley. I'm liking
I
this.
know.
Go ahead. Take
I
it
know.
there.
I have to like point out all the great games in the past decade to get to this point. There's so many cash grab games. All these shooter games that come out that kind of copy the same formula. They are what really kills this generation of games. It's not that there aren't good games coming out, because people cry all the time. They're like, there's no good games coming out. It's not there's not good games coming out. They're just not being presented to you in the fashion that you would think of. We can talk about indie games. We can talk about Undertale. We can talk about Stardew Valley. We could talk about Dave the Diver. We could talk about all these games. It's not because they're unique in what they do, and there's something new. But AAA games are doing this as well, but they're so slammed against stuff like Call of Duty, stuff like Overwatch, stuff like Halo, Destiny, that crowds your face because they're the loudest person in the room. because they're advertising the most. We can look back throughout the last 10 years and have some Cuphead, one of the greatest
Cuphead,
games that came out.
I don't think we're talking
That's-
about indies.
I'm talking about games. You brought up Undertale earlier. You talked about Toby Fox.
Yeah,
Cuphead's good.
Cuphead's incredible.
Cuphead's
No.
good.
Cuphead is great, but I don't think that's his
My point, though, is in the past 10 years, it's not that there weren't good games coming out. It's not that it's not that they lost innovation. It's not that they lost the creativity. It's there. It's just people aren't seeing it as readily available.
See, I think it's studios hold back creativity in everything right now. Movies, video games, other media that I can't think of right now.
But see, I disagree. I just think it's the
music.
It's the cash grabs that do it.
I agree with Koala in a way because I feel like video games are driven. Like prime example, what is one of the worst launches of all time? What is the word?
Concord.
Name one of the worst launches.
Concord.
In the past.
But Concord. But what was Concord?
Cyberpunk.
We'll touch on Cyberpunk. Yeah. We'll touch on
Why
that in a
was
second, but let's go back to Concord. Let's go back to the first game. Why was that such a failure at launch? It's because
the Sky one was a bad one too.
Oh, No Man's Sky?
Yeah.
Yes, and I'll even touch on that one too. I'm glad you guys we got
Concord didn't even get off the ground, guys.
We got 3
didn't even get off the ground. But
that's because it's oversaturated
due to Overwatch. We got No Man's Sky. It made too big of promises, and one guy couldn't do it all. Then we got Cyberpunk. They rushed the release of it because people were losing their minds. People like Ryan were foaming at the mouth for the game. So then they release it, and then people are like, "It's buggy." Yeah, it's because it's buggy because you just told them that they had to release the game because y'all were foaming at the mouth for it. Also, it's made by
No, it was bonus. Yeah. But we got to get into our final question because we only have a little bit of time left. We're going to go over here just a little bit. But the final question is about diversity and inclusion in video games. There's been a lot of pushback on diversity. People have different sexual creeds in video games. We can elaborate more. This could be even one topic alone. I have an issue in one game I'm playing right now with Dragon Age with a forced narrative of a character that really doesn't make you feel like that is a good place to go with that character. But we'll touch base on that another time. For me, one of the biggest issues at the Game Awards was Naughty Dog presented a new game with their main protagonist being a woman of color. She was bald-headed, could be possibly, of the lesbian traits, but didn't bother me. I thought it was cool as hell. A lot of just anger from, professional gamers, opinions about this, all this stuff. I'm really
professional gamers. Come on.
I'm really tired of this kind of we always have to have our leads as males, white, just straight, generic shit. We've had that forever, since the birth of games. You can only name maybe 4 characters that lead games, like Lara Croft. That's one of them. But there's not many other games that you can think of that are not with a male lead of white. Okay?
And Lara Croft was to be horny at.
She was built just for looking at assets that she possessed. So, my thing is, it's just, it's not, exactly. 100%. But I feel like when you are represented in a game, you see yourself. Most of these games today are going that route to present these kind of things because, people say we live in a woke generation. I don't believe that. I just feel like people are evolving. People are growing up. There's different generations that are coming up now to want to see themselves on screen and see themselves in media, see themselves in video games, see themselves in every facet of entertainment and pop culture in general. Diversity and inclusion, for me, is for everyone to be represented in any genre, shape, or form. So this, for me, for video games, I think is absolutely absurd. It's not even funny. The only thing I don't like is when video games throw in forced narratives to have somebody be different. That's dumb.
You don't like the
That's
token character?
incredible.
You don't like the token character?
No, I'm playing Dragon Age Velgar right now, and there's a character in the game that has a forced narrative, which is very, very unappealing because she represents LGBTQ, and like her character it's force driven. It's not like an evolution. It's not like a struggle. It's like a choice that she has to make. You don't choose to feel what you feel, and that's my problem with like these kind of games. They force these characters so they have a notch off the belt, and it's fucking annoying.
So I have.
And it makes the game not fun.
Oh, it's your.
So
yeah, diverse and inclusion, and then we're gonna roll out.
I'm gonna say some hot takes here, but I'm gonna start with the one I don't like being pandered to. So like there are games where they ruin their potential because they are trying to pander and force something. And I'm specifically talking about Life is Strange. We're a girl main character. That's not the problem, okay? The problem is they're forcing you into like these romance options, and then the end game, you're supposed to pick to like let one person survive or a whole town, right? Canon, first game, the whole town is supposed to survive and this person died. However, where they started pandering is the second game when they were just like, no, your choice doesn't matter actually. This lady survived because she's lesbian and we want to focus on her. I have a lot of issues with Life is Strange, but writing specifically. So that's when I don't like it. However, my hot take is I just think we're tired of being erased, and that these people are growing up and making games and they're like, why should I like not put who I am in this game? Because I'm making it anyways, or I wrote it anyways, or whatever. It's like, did y'all know one of the first point and click game and one of the first fantasy games was written by a woman and made by she developed it, and that was
King's Quest.
That's written by a woman. You didn't know that because it got like erased, but that whole game series is loved. Or like, who was the first person to make a console? A black man. Again, got erased in history, and no one knew that. So like, I just think people are sick of being erased, and then these horny white Nazis, and I'm gonna say it, just want to complain because they can't wank off to the main character. There's a bunch of sexy visual novels. Just go over there.
Go read a hentai, you weirdo.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm sick of that argument. It's just honestly racist. Like racist white men that hate women, or men that hate women, because sometimes I'm surprised by who's complaining.
Games that have where you can customize your character, like again, Elder Scrolls. That's the only one I can think of right now. But like, take one of those games and imagine the lashing out that would imagine the huge backlash that would happen if the character defaulted to a woman instead of a man. That says all I need to know about whether or not this is like, there's nothing wrong with that. There would be no reason to not have for it to be a problem. Yet people would lose their damn minds.
See, and the other thing is the vocal like majority is just those annoying people. That's the thing. I don't think the majority hates it. I just think the people that are fine with it are
ones that don't like it are just the loudest is all.
Ooh,
I think that
Ooh, can I sprinkle into this real quick? Because this is my main top point of this. Like, you guys are hitting it but just not saying it exactly. I feel like, but that was pretty much getting to my whole point. I don't think. Imagine me, Ryan, if I was like, yeah, I think we need more white guys in games, and I was like the whole opposite. That'd be terrible. No, absolutely not.
You live your truth.
No,
Boy.
I'm all for inclusion and whatnot. I think it's a great thing. I think though, if a lot of these games that came out that got hated came out 20 years ago, I don't think they'd be hated as much. We'll use The Last of Us 2. If The Last of Us 2 came out in 2005, 2006, I don't think it would have had nearly as much backlash, because I think there would have still been people that hated it, but social media wasn't a thing. I think social media is easy. Hold on, I see the confused look, Midori. I see it, and I understand that. Let me explain. I think that it's so easy to get caught up in social media and be in an echo chamber of toxic masculinity. All these toxic people are like, gay, buff. It creates such an unhealthy thing that explodes. But back in the early 2000s, you couldn't do that as much. You could go on forums, but it wasn't as easily accessible, and I don't think games would be highly as criticized as they are today.
No, well, hold on now. I think it's a matter of timing is the issue, right? You're saying, what was that number you said 20 years ago? I'm gonna punch you. But
I'm just saying 2005, early 2000s. I'm just saying before Facebook.
Right, 2005, it wouldn't have been a big deal because we had plenty of, I guess now considered wokeness. We already had that. It just wasn't called wokeness. Like there was no label for all that stuff. We had gay characters. We had lesbians.
Mass Effect was out at that time.
I was gonna say we had.
Before that,
yeah,
we
Mass
had
Effect.
Metroid. Okay, to be fair, Metroid was you didn't know that you were playing a woman until the very end of Metroid.
Unless you knew the lore of it for sure. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there was plenty of that going on that it wasn't in your face. It didn't matter. But now it's part of an agenda, and that's what's wrong with it. It's a part of an agenda to include me. It's a part of the agenda to make me look
like black. I just said earlier. You're forcing
it down people's mouths, and I can't be mad at it. Don't force feed something because we're grown ass adults. Don't put that spoon in my mouth. I can eat by my damn self. Mm-hmm. So that's I'm not gonna say it's because of social media. Social media probably has heightened it for sure, or given it more of a bigger platform. But social media is not, I wouldn't say at fault. It's definitely not at fault.
Yeah, so
I agree with Midori. I don't think it's social media either. I think
because we had instant messaging back then.
Hey, right? Yeah, but instant messaging. Wait, but instant messaging is me reaching out to Ryan, not me reaching out to 30,000 of my followers.
No, we had chat rooms. What are you talking about?
No, those chat rooms are not the same thing as modern day Twitter. No, it is not. That is a wild statement.
Can I?
Wait, you can't compare instant messaging with Twitter because Twitter isn't instant messaging. It's instant posting.
That's my point, though. That's my point. Like the day.
But there was places for you to post. It wasn't necessarily a forum, but there was a place that you can instant forum or instant post for sure. Maybe you were too young to realize it or to have had access to it.
Same. Not the same. Though.
Maybe it was the same.
I would like to throw in an example real quick of why I agree with Wiley completely on this. Fable 2 came out with where you can pick your gender, and I didn't see a single thing about it being complained about. Everyone thought it was such a leap. It was so cool. Like, oh, you can pick who you want to be. And then this new Fable's coming out, and I'm assuming you're going to be able to pick. Because I think it would be really stupid if they forced the gender on you when it's 2 and 3. I know it's like a reboot, but like, if you know the game, most likely you're going to be able to pick. So just common sense, right. But the ads are using females, and all I see is complaining.
But that's because of the agenda.
There is more spots. But there isn't an agenda with Fable because You've always been able to pick
It's not.
gender
It's not.
other than one.
It's not. It's not necessarily the game. It's just the agenda of the message that they're trying to force down people's throat. That is what's upsetting people.
For a prime example, Midori, Mass Effect. Okay.
Yes.
Mass Effect. EA. You can be anything you want it to be in that game. You can do anything with the characters in
Adam,
that
go
game.
to sleep.
Prime Dragon Age right now. They have a character, a Quanari character, who's trans. But the agenda in the game is force. There's no resolution or thought or feeling for this character. You don't care because it's a forced narrative because we're checking boxes.
The boxes, yes.
He's a trans character. We check that box.
I think we're hitting
Okay.
two different points.
But you're honestly only pandered to 1 out of 10 times. The rest of them, I'm pretty sure, is just to show people like me into a game, or like people of color into a game. I don't think you're pandered to as often as people.
What
think.
about
I mean,
the
just-
intentions
I mean,
of the pandering,
Pokemon did
too?
that. Pokemon has done that too.
What'd you say, Sarah?
What about the intentions? When you're
Yeah.
being pandered to, the intentions are generally
what's
good,
the
right?
in-
So while it's annoying, it's
Eh.
still like I tolerate it when it's happening. I don't so much see it in video games, but you know, other media, you see the pandering, and it is annoying. I'm not going to defend it, but generally the intentions are good, and that's
I disagree
I mean,
with that because I think some of it is capitalism.
absolutely, yeah. That part of it. I mean, I guess I'm thinking more about comic books. I've seen indie comics because I mostly read indie stuff, and like, but yeah, there's a lot of times where
Sarah's stuck in that comic book
somebody's-
world.
Sorry.
Midori, swap your microphone, Midori, from your car back to your phone.
Yeah, your mic got weird.
But yeah, like with.
Oh, she all right. We about
Yeah,
to
like,
get out of here. We about to
I'm
get out
not
of here.
talking with the
Yeah.
mainstream stuff. Every decision that they make is driven by whether or not they can make money. But so I'm
Yeah.
talking when I'm saying that, I'm saying it mostly about the smaller stuff. Is like when somebody shoehorns a trans character where they don't need to be, you know, just for the sake of ticking that box, not because that trans character works there. That's, you know, my example.
It would have been cool if you
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
something for
Just
this
don't
character,
just-
but you don't.
Don't just,
Yeah.
you know, advertise that the
That's why-
character's trans just to tick your diversity box.
It's important to get writers that know what they're talking
Exactly.
about.
And I
It's important to get
believe
writers
absolutely.
Whoever
that
wrote this
Or-
character
LGBT and
Listen.
trans.
are not LGBTQ whatsoever.
Yeah.
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 Like,
Yeah.
so,
But that's gonna be more sparse soon. So
I don't know. I just
but
Yeah.
on that note, we got to roll out of here. I wish we had more
I'm
time.
sorry,
Hey,
Ryan.
part
I'm
two
sorry.
coming up.
It was getting
Part
good.
2 coming up.
It might be a
Let's
part
go.
2 to this. Might be a part 2 to this.
I would
It was
love that.
good. I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight for a 6th episode back. Once again, AoG debates will be happening every month. At the end of the month, 8 p.m. Eastern. Next topic will be put up in the next couple weeks. I really appreciate everybody's time tonight, and thank you for joining me. And we'll see y'all next month with a new topic